Hi, Claire and James here. Just before we get stuck into this week's episode, we wanted to let you know the exciting news that the Midlife Reset audit is now live. This is a first of its kind personalised diagnostic tool designed for midlifers by midlifers.
In just 3 minutes, the audit will help you pinpoint what's really holding you back from living your healthiest, happiest midlife, and most importantly, provide tailored strategies on how to take back control. Midlife doesn't have to be a time of uncertainty. It can be an era of growth, discovery, and well-being. So to go ahead and take the audit, go to themidlifementors.com/audit.
Making a career change at any point in your life can feel scary and overwhelming, but in midlife, we maybe have career changes forced upon us, or we might just realise what we were doing isn't lighting us up or meeting the other goals we have in our life. So in this episode, I talked to Patrick Reid, who at the age of 38 made the courageous decision to leave a successful career in television to move into something which he had no experience, futures trading in the city. Patrick started as an apprentice and then worked his way to manage millions of pounds. Today, Patrick runs Adamis Principles, which helps people transition to a trading career, even getting their own desk in the city if they want to. I talked to him about how he made the decision, how that's played out for him, and how he helps people today. I do hope you find this interesting and enjoyable.
Hi, I'm James Davis.
And I'm Claire Davis.
We're the Midlife Mentors, here to lift the lid on how to achieve health and happiness.
The balanced, no-nonsense way.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Midlife Mentors with me, James. I'm flying solo today, no Claire, because I'm interviewing a very special guest, someone I think you're going to find very inspiring. It's a story about successful midlife career change and really stepping from one industry to another and making a huge success of it, and then going on to help other people do the same thing. So without further ado, I'll welcome Patrick Reid of Adamis Principles. Welcome, Patrick. How are you doing today?
Hi, James. I'm very well, thanks. I'm very excited about the interview, and thanks for inviting me on your show.
Oh, no, pleasure to have you here. Thanks for making the time for it. Now, Patrick, you've got a really interesting story, right? Because you were working in media and TV until your very late 30s. Then you decided to jump into career change, or you just saw an opportunity. Do you want to talk me through that?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I've always taken risks, some kind of big risks, sometimes small risks, but I've always wanted to try things and not been scared to fail. And I've had various things I've done in my career. Just sort of rewind a little bit. In my early 20s, I was late to go to university, so I was a bit old then. I think I was at 23 and everyone was 18. I'm like, oh my God, you're so old. I was like, I felt old at the time, which is hilarious, really. Yeah. And it kind of set the framework for later on in life. So I did that late. I managed to get an internship reading scripts in LA for Fox. I did an exchange with Erasmus in the University of Milan. So I learned a language from scratch. And I was like, that was so difficult because I'm rubbish at languages. So I did that in the 90s. And then I became, I started working in media. And then, I became a DJ for 3 years and I did really well, toured. I had some hits and that was all kind of
music
like,
were you playing?
Dance music.
Oh, Patrick, we might have crossed paths. I used to work for Ministry of Sound back, I launched a magazine there. So late 97 till the early 2000s.
No way. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm sure I've actually played the Ministry. And so somebody called the booker called Joe Brooks Nevin. Yeah. She booked me there. Yeah. I did, and she's a friend of someone I know from Hong Kong. And oh my God, a small world. Yeah. Well, I toured and released stuff on a small dance label and a progressive house, basically. So, and we kind of, some big DJ signed a couple of my records, and then we were kind of in that flurry of late 90s kind of 2000 kind of heyday in my sort of view. But nothing lasts forever, right? So I was like that. I said, and then I was like, well, what next? So I sort of bumbled along, carried on with a pretty safe and well-paid job in telly. And then I got to this point about 15 years ago. I was like, well, I'm pretty bored. It's nothing to do with where I'm at in life, in the sense of the company I was working at, but I want this final career change. I want to really get life by the scruff of the neck and change something. And this is my final throw with the dice sort of thing. And in the space of a week, something quite unique happened. One, I spoke to a guy who had done 40 years in the company I was at, who basically had a leaving due. And he said, they're giving me this gold pen. And it was just lovely. And that was great. But they also said they're giving me this autograph book that had signed by senior HR people. And I was like, I don't want that. when I've done my most of my life in a company. So I was like, that kind of made something happen. And I went to the loo and I looked in the mirror and I was about 38 and I was like, I look old, and it was, it's hilarious now because that was a few years ago, but I was thinking something's got to change. I've got to do something and I don't care to fail. I can't go on and, on my deathbed with my grandchildren everywhere going, coulda, shoulda, woulda, I wish I did that. So that was it. And that was the first thing. Number two, I met a futures trader for the biggest proprietary desk in the world, tower trading. We went for dinner just through his wife. I sort of knew her. And I said, look, can I just take a look at your desk? Can I take a look at the environment? So I went in there. It was Tower 42, and I saw it was on the third floor, tower trading, and I was like, saw the screens, the noise, the commotion, the score boxes, all of the guys, doing what they do, and I was like, sign me up. I need this. I want this. Do or die, And so I jacked in the job, the safe job, which paid me pretty good. And I'd saved some money. And I was like, this is it. This is the final thing I'm going to do. And that was it. I was there at the oldest apprentice. There were 21-year-olds around me. And I was like, okay, so what do I do? Well, you get up really early. And then you turn up for work at 6:30. And you get shouted at, basically. And that was it in the first week. And I was like, just hang on, first week. And I remember thinking, oh, what have I done? This pales into an insignificance of what I'd previously done with my kind of career changes and all that stuff. But I knew, rooted in the heart of me, this is exactly what I was born to do, even though it took me a few years to realize this is so exciting, so life-changing, so invigorating that I need to get this. I need to make this through. So that was the beginning, and everything changed from there. It was the hardest thing I've done, basically, and career-wise, anyway. And I was like, look, 2 weeks in, I literally went to the loo and I did a little cry, and I was like, can I do this? And then I kind of like walked around the block, took a deep breath, and I was like, yeah, this is going to be okay, And I had moments like that all the time, but I knew that I'd been given this amazing opportunity, and I needed to make this work. So I just started from scratch. I found a mentor. I was a sponge. I asked everyone. I read a lot of books, a lot of research. I got physical experience with trading. It started on the demo. On the futures desk, and I started with German debt on the Bund pit, and then I just grew and I learned, and I got beaten, and I dusted myself down, and from then on it started to change, and and the first year was a self-discovery year for me, and that was amazing, and I survived the first year, And then the second year is when I really made a lot of money. And that's when then things really changed. So really that was the first bit of my journey. And then just fast forward, the second year I got poached to, I was trading futures contracts, but I got poached to a spot, a small hedge fund from New York. And then we were trading spot effects. And that was a whole different ball game because it's a lot deeper. It's, 7.5 trillion spot gets traded every day. And that really made me sort of realize that what I'd learned in futures was just a small element of my journey. And then I started looking at interest rates and how things work and all that stuff. And then, I did really well. And the guy who was my boss, Adam, he and I had a chat. We got on really well and I was doing well. And he said, look, I want to open up a new company. How about it? And that's when Adamis Principles was formed, about 7.5 years ago now. And we created this small niche FX consultancy to cut through the BS, give institutional trading education and mentoring experience to both retail traders, but also institutional traders. And we've grown in 7 odd years. We're still quite small, but we're passionate. I've trained about 200 traders now. We still trade. I trade my own book. The company trades its book as well. We're doing well, and we successfully transform people's lives and offer them, seats in futures desks or help them pass FTMO accounts or funded brokers accounts, but also, give them the toolkit to change to give them options to change their lives to become profitable, successful traders, essentially. And we've got that's just right now. We've got loads of new plans. We'll probably talk about that during the show. But that's it in as shortest possible time I could explain.
That's an incredible journey. I'm just reflecting. I'm smiling myself. There's so many parallels with my journey. I trained in psychology, started work as a psychologist, but I wanted to be a journalist. Opportunity came up with ministry, so I quit my psychology, went into journalism. The internet came along. I got more involved in the digital side, moved up, then started working in places like the Times, MTV, doing all their big commercial deals before stepping out, moving to Ibiza and going back to like self-development. So running retreats, but kind of focused on giving people all the tools they need, as well as the physical movement, all the psychological tools, to where we are today, and it's interesting. So many people I speak to, I think in our age bracket, are contemplating some sort of career change, some voluntarily, others enforced, right? Because I do feel, you might have a take on this. I feel like we're in a bit of an unannounced recession at the moment. Like no one's using the R word, but a lot of independent business owners I speak to are just like, it's a really tough environment at the moment. And I think we're seeing that. Certainly we've had clients in big financial institutions that have been there all their career. Suddenly at 50, whatever, they're like, thanks very much. And they're like, oh gosh, what do I do now? So I think the service we come on to what you do, and I've got loads of questions about that. But just take me back, because I think for a lot of people, and me included, when you make a complete career change, can be a very scary step. So I just want to take you back to that, that moment where you said, right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to leave the safe, in inverted commas, career and go into this unknown thing, and B, that kind of feeling. And I think, listen, I've been there where you've jumped into something new, and then you're just like a few days in, you're like, oh, what have I done? just talk me through a little bit through that.
Yeah, no worries. I read it was something somebody posted on LinkedIn. It was like the riskiest thing you can do is to stay in your career that you don't like or love, and that usually means at some point you feel you're going to get the tap on the shoulder. And the thing for me is when I did it, I'm not immune to taking risks, but I knew, my life's so short. When I was in my 20s and 30s, it was almost like my watch was on slow motion. When I got to my 40s, it's like starts to speed up. Now I'm in my 50s, it gets faster. So grab it while you can. And that's my advice. And that's not to say I was foolhardy. I wasn't. A lot of career changers, You don't have to do what I did and completely switch, but what you can do is slowly overtake on the lane, and you're doing your bread and butter job. You're getting wages and stuff like that. What I say to my clients is, look, give yourself runway, right? So I had 50K. I came in with that in my trading account. I had living expenses and stuff like that. And I gave myself a year as well as that 50K to trade with. I kept that golden. That was just my story. Everyone's different, but give yourself a year in the new profession. And before you kind of make the switch, slowly and surely do your research and get yourself as prepped up as you can before you make that sort of change, because it is going to take longer than you think, and give yourself enough money to survive that. The amount of people that come to me going, well, I've been in X bank for 22 years, and all of a sudden, I've been hating my job for 4 years, and I can't believe they made me redundant. Well, if you hate your job for 4 years, do you think some people might pick up on that vibe? Do you know what I mean? So it's like, and you know what? Everything changed in COVID. You had people cutting the fat, like corporates, or cutting the imaginary fat, going, actually, we've done all right with half the staff, the mid-management. And you know what? We're not going back to the old days, right? And that's not to say that all businesses are run like that, but it's certainly a game changer. And that was structural. It's not going to go back. So you had more nomads, you had more working from homes, you've got this flexibility, you've got more not very good contracts. Some of my clients work in the agile, print space, IT change management space, and they've got this new IR35 rule, and that's squeezing them. You've got, everything gets leaner, harder, and corporates are looking at and never got to go back before that. So what I would say, coming back to what your question was, is prepare. You don't have to move today, but give yourself the skill set and toolkit to make that change, and give yourself pre and post. So the pre might be 6 months to a year, whatever. That means each day, what I did, what I recommend is each day, just learn a little bit more about your new career that you quite like to do, and then gain, look at free stuff, talk to people, buy somebody a coffee who works in that industry, talk to people, get a lay of the land, good, bad, ugly, draw out the worst case scenarios with your runway. As you do that for at least a year, I gave myself a year. I mean, some people do it 6 months, but because here's the thing, failure is not an option, in the sense that if you do fail, it's not a failure. You've tried something.
Yeah.
And don't burn the bridges. So when I first traded futures contracts in my first year, I still did freelance in my old job. Right. So that's the key thing. Have a little bit, and sometimes I had to work weekends, and the other thing, what you could do is, in your current job, ask to be reduce your hours. You're going to take a hit on your income. You can't, do a 4-day week and use that one day to do your new job or to research or just go to the library. Nothing's for free. I mean, you've got to work hard, and find yourself a mentor within your new career to say, look, what's it really like? I want the warts and all, and those things I think might be quite helpful for your viewers.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great advice, Patrick. Thanks. I remember actually a story from Jim Carrey that he told. It's about when he wanted to become like big in Hollywood, and I think he was talking about his dad, who I think was like a career accountant, but then was made redundant, devastated him. And I paraphrase his quote, but he said, look, it showed me you can fail at what you don't want to do, so why not at least try and fail at what you do want to do?
I love that.
Yeah. Fantastic. So let's get on to the trading, because I'm fascinated by this personally. So when you went as an apprentice, this is you going into an organization. Obviously, you trade with fake money first, right? A paper account.
Yeah.
But when you start that in that type of environment, are you putting your own money in and trading that, or are you trading like the institution's money when you're at a desk type situation?
Yeah, so it depends. There's a lot of caveats. So my experience is within futures and proprietary desks, and futures they're an asset basically. It's a place to trade with hedge funds, banks, asset managers. They all have some kind of involvement with futures. When in the old days you had the floor called Life in Chicago, it was the CME, CBOE, where you had these guys with multicolored jackets doing the hand signals and all that stuff. And they kind of closed down. And in London, it was called Life. And they closed down, and then they went into computers, on screen. And some of the guys failed, but some of them moved over, transitioned. So these proprietary desks were born. Now, before 2008, a lot of banks had these kind of desks, and they kind of traded the bank's money, and that got stopped with all the new regulation post global financial crisis. So when you enter a desk, you can get funded by the prop desk, or you can back yourself, or an investor can back you. It depends on how experienced you are. You need to have experience as a professional trader. That's in futures. It's non-salary mainly. They're called locals, right? So you get a profit split, usually 80-20, your favor, and for anything you make. And essentially, you rent the desk, and you get access to all the exchanges and all the instruments. So you can trade commodities, interest rates, FX, equities, anything you want, really. And you're plugging in directly to the exchanges. And you can get your Bloomberg terminal, you get your screens and all the infrastructure. Most futures desks now are hybrid, so they're remote. You trade anywhere you want, and that's an institutional setup. You come and go as you please, as long as you're paying your rent on the desk, and that's it. You eat what you kill, basically.
Right.
There are some prop desks that give you a small salary, and pay you less of the upside if you're really good. So that, you can get a bit of that. There are some hedge funds who will employ you with a base salary, but you need to be exceptional. Especially some of the quants firms on the hedge fund side. They're few and far between. You probably need to do an MBA or some kind of higher mathematics degree to get that. And then on the other side, so that's kind of buy side. You also get asset managers that have a bit of involvement. And then sell side is banks. Traders on banks is really, I've never worked in a bank, but I have been mentored by a lot of senior bank traders. It's a really good salary, long hours, and you get a bit of a corporate bonus at the end of it. So there's pros and cons to everything. You get less freedom with a bank. You've got to turn up on time. Some really, some silly hours. But with say futures, you do set your own hours. So it really is, the futures side is for me the best side, in the sense that you can have a clear pathway to an institutional desk without being the bog standard kind of MBA grad. Or the senior kind of economics degree grad that goes through the internship kind of route. And you've got to do your 5 to 7 years and then move up slowly up that structure. And that's really difficult. With a future side, you generally don't get a salary, but you can earn a lot more than the other side as well. So there's pros and cons.
Okay. And then what about probably the other side people know, which is, I think it's called retail trading, which is where you're kind of sat at home with your laptop. How effective is that? I think these days, with social media, I think particularly on TikTok, I haven't seen, I'm probably the wrong demographic. Apparently, there's loads of people on there going, "Yeah, I'll follow my forex tips, be a forex trader," and they're selling courses or programs or signals and stuff. Should people by and large ignore all that noise on social media? How do you become a successful retail trader?
Yeah, ignore it first of all, and look, trading's hard. It's not, you know. Put it this way: if somebody's selling you a signal, why don't they just use their own signals and make loads of money? Why would they give those secrets away to you? Right? So the signals don't work. You know, the top quant funds like your Renaissance, your D Shores, your Citadels, your Virtues, they spend billions of dollars on algos to get those signals. Or somebody out of their bedroom selling signals and courses, do you think they stand a chance? No, right? So it is pretty much you need to ignore that. Now you need to learn how to fish yourself. That's what I would say. And you know, certainly this is what we do with our mentees. I'm not the oracle. I make mistakes, and I've been doing this about 15 years now. That's okay. You've got to have robust risk management. You've got to learn what moves markets. You've got to be good at macro. You've got to be good at appropriate sizing, and give yourself time. It should be an enjoyment. You've got to enjoy the job, because I tell you what, I know some very big traders, and they don't do it for the money. They're very successful. They're earning some serious numbers. They don't do it for the money. I know it sounds odd, but it's true, because the big successful traders got there through passion and the love of the craft and getting it right on their run, on their pathway. It's not about getting your Ferraris in. It's not about, I mean, that's nice, but it's not going to make you happy. What makes you happy is doing your hard work, getting your research and it going your way. You think, job well done, you know? So I would definitely say avoid TikTok, YouTube, and find a mentor who's worked in an institution. And there's a few of us out there. Just look at what they've done. You know, if they have a track record, right? Obviously, we do. If they've worked in a prop desk, a bank, a hedge fund, how many years have been doing it, and look at what they give out. You know, are they really passionate about their market view, right? And I post a lot on LinkedIn, and I'm always posting my market views and how to get involved in trading and the do's and don'ts, and just look at their transparency. You know, if it's their way or the highway, big red flag. You know, and it's like usually yellow Lamborghinis aren't a good look for their landing page. So that's my advice, really.
Okay, that's great advice. Thank you for that. A question I've got, we're seeing AI. I think we're still at the very beginnings of it. They're starting to impact a number of industries. It's interesting. I think when we were younger, we thought technology was going to replace blue collar jobs first, you know, but actually it looks now, because it's much more scalable, it's going to take white collar, because building robots to do physical work is still quite expensive. But trading seems an obvious one where AI could start to play a big role. How do you see that coming in? Like, you know, just machine learning, running algorithms and making trades rather than people doing it.
Yeah, this is hilarious, James, because we've been doing it for 20, 25 years. This is like, this is nothing new. And Paul Tudor Jones from Tudor, one of the biggest and best hedge funds in the world, said this. He said, there is no human better than a machine, but there is no machine better than a human with a machine. And that is really nails it. And we've had this since the late 80s, early 90s. We had machine code, right? So there's always a place for both. And if you look at the top 10 hedge funds, you're always going to get your Brevin Howards. You know, you're always going to get your Tudor Jones, and they're humans, and they do a bit of algo and AI stuff as well. But somebody's got to code that, and a human codes it, right? So good old fashioned macro, good old fashioned human sentiment will never be gone. And markets are odd; they're inefficient often, and that's down to human error and frailties of the human psyche. And often you'll see that the highly efficient algos, the highly efficient AI fail because they discount the human mistakes we make in
Interesting.
life. Yeah. And there are algos and codes out there to make them more human, to make them more sloppy and irrational. And those are the ones that do really well, right? And the other thing about AI is that, I've read quite a lot about 20 odd years ago, it was high frequency trading, right? And it was the race to zero. So it was this concept of co-location. If you're closer to the source of the data release, you can get there in the trade earlier than anyone else. There was all that. And basically they worked out that they drilled through mountains, fiber optic cable to get to the source of the data release, right? And then they worked out, this is great. And everyone was doing it. And then it was like, there was no edge in that. So they're like, oh, somebody had a bright idea. They used microwaves. And that's so much quicker. And they were like, yeah. So let's pile in billions of dollars into the microwaves, right? And then somebody said, hold on a minute. You forgot the one thing, the weather. And when it's overcast, that completely ruins all of your signals on the microwaves, on the dishes. And it's like, when it works, it's so much quicker than fiber optic. But when it's overcast, you can't really do much. Is there anything we can do about the weather? Maybe not. So that's the thing, you see. So always coming back to your question, there's always going to be a place. It's been around for years. And you know what? It'll never replace humans.
Okay, good to hear. So we don't want humans replaced. Let's talk a little bit about what you do. Obviously, you said you're trading your own books, but the other side of your business, helping people become traders. Just talk me through that. If I turn up to you with my little briefcase of cash, saying I've got money, I want to trade. Like, how does it work? What's the process? What are the timescales?
Yeah. So our most successful traders do our 1 year signature program. It's 12 months, and essentially, the process is we get to know each other. We're old fashioned. We travel. I've been in Poland, and I go to Dubai. I travel to Italy. I go all over the world to meet my clients when possible. And we have a chat. We over lunch, like the old fashioned way, and we get to know each other. And we go, look, what do you really want? What's your what fuels you? Most people want to be successful, lots of money, but some people just want to be, have a different career, to stop where they're going and change and have this thirst for a new education. And as it goes, you can make a lot of money. So I manage that expectation, that process through a lunch. We write objectives, we do a thorough assessment, and then we have this induction program where we bed you in and get you involved in our program. And it's a hybrid approach. So generally with our 1 year program, it's 41 videos that I've written and presented myself, practical tips on how to trade with macro risk management and technical analysis, but also golden setups and the do's and don'ts. And there's a beginner section as well. And that's kind of self-study. So you do that on your own terms. We encourage 2 to 3 hours a week. And then coupled with that, you get a live show every morning called the Adamis Daily. And that's me and Adam, and we connect with our clients. There's about eight of us that plug in. And that you get to ask us anything you want about what's rocking your boat, what we need to be careful of, any issues on the videos and stuff like that. And basically through months 1 to 3, it's very much getting you on the platform, trading on the demo, getting you it's live desk experience or close to, getting you match fit to put some trades by us. We're very much hand holding in those early days. By month 3, we look to flip you into a traded funded account like FTMO or something like that. And that would be the only point where you start to get real skin in the game, but with no risk on your behalf, right? So you get a funded broker account, and then you trade that for another, say, 4 to 6 months. And by month 9, you'll be pretty much ready for a real money cash account for yourself if you want to have that yourself, or a futures desk. And obviously by month 12, we'll get you match fit. We'll take you around the futures desks in London, introduce you to the setup, teach you futures and all the rest of it. And by the end of month 12, you will be the finished article. You will have a brand new career, and you'll be able to trade consistently, be profitable, and and choose to do that at home or in a futures desk. It's entirely up to you.
Wow, sounds fab. Sounds amazing. Pricked my interest for sure. You alluded to, I think near the start, that you've got other stuff coming out. So what are plans? What might we see from you coming out in the near future?
Yeah, so something, what I would say is look on my LinkedIn feed. It's Patrick Reid, Adamis Principle. But we are, yeah, absolutely. So I'm touring. I'm going to Dubai for the huge Forex Expo in October. So around the 7th, I'll be discussing the US election. So that's quite exciting. I take August off, which I always, all my mentees, I want them to take August off, a whole month, right? Because market's quite thin, and we do that. If you're on our program, we do that, and I'll be touring. I'll be going to see all my clients. But so in October, I'm going to be in Dubai. In also September, I'm going to be in Amsterdam at the Trade Tech event. That's I'll be a moderator on a couple of panels. That's an institutional setup. Goldman Sachs, UBS, and JP Morgan all attend. So that's super exciting as well. And you heard it here first. We are coming up with a very special announcement, and we'll be announcing it probably today. But I can't go into too much detail. But you've got to look at my LinkedIn. But it basically will be the perfect solution for our mentees to trade in futures, because we'll be looking after them, giving them extra TLC. So that's the big thing.
Oh, wow.
That I'm not allowed to announce, but I kind of half announced it. But more details to follow. And look on my LinkedIn for more.
Fantastic. Patrick, it's been so fascinating. I could talk for hours to you, but we should probably wrap it up there. So the last thing is, if people if you've piqued their interest, how can they find you? Where can they reach out to you?
The best way, thanks, James. The best way is to look on LinkedIn. I blog daily with my market news, and I often talk about who we are, what we do, how to get in touch. But LinkedIn, it's Patrick Reid, Adamis Principle. You can email me, and I'll give you the email in the chat. It's patrick@adamisprinciple.com. But the best way is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the best way. So send a request. I answer every DM. I'm very accessible. I'm not kind of high and mighty, because I've been there. I'm an outsider in the trading world.
Even those DMs that come going, "Hi, would you like to make 10,000 a month by getting more clients?"
Yeah, exactly. I go, no, thanks. Yeah, exactly. So, LinkedIn is the best. It's Patrick Reid, Adamis Principle.
Great. If send those through to me, we'll put those links in the show notes for people. Patrick, Great. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, James. All the best.
Yeah. You've been listening to the Midlife Mentors with Claire and James Davis.
We'd love to hear from you. So drop us a line at info@themidlifementors.com with any questions or topic suggestions.
And make sure you join us on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. You can find us under the Midlife Mentors. Yeah. What? Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode. And don't forget to take the Midlife Reset audit now to receive personalised insights into what's holding you back from living your healthiest, happiest midlife. So go ahead and take the audit now at themidlifementors.com/audit.